Well, it's no secret that the vast majority of European leaders were praying for a Joe Biden victory, with the possible exception of Boris Johnson in the UK. The reactions can kind of be divided into three categories. Those leaders who congratulated Biden and acknowledged the difficulty of the past 4 years. Those leaders that issued kind of boilerplate statements, not really acknowledging the special circumstances of this election. In that category, I would put the leaders of France, Germany, and the Netherlands, who do have to be diplomatic. And then there's a third category of leaders like Viktor Orban and Vladimir Putin, who have not issued any response at all, and even the Slovenian prime minister, who has not seemed to want to recognize Joe Biden as president and is spreading conspiracy theories about the vote being a fraud. Now, there was a big question right after the election was declared, because it put leaders in an awkward position, given the sitting U.S. president is not going to concede anytime soon. And of course, leaders are wary of getting on Donald Trump's bad side. So there was a real question at first whether European leaders were going to quickly recognize this. The Irish prime minister was the first one to put out a message of congratulations to Joe Biden. That got a lot of attention because, of course, there's big questions around Brexit and Joe Biden's close relationship with Ireland. There's a big question about whether Boris Johnson was going to recognize this victory. He did about an hour after it was called. The EU Commission president and EU Council president, I would put their reactions in the second category of kind of boilerplate congratulations. But what we see here is that sitting leaders have issued kind of diplomatic responses, and they've left the more nuanced responses to their deputies. For instance, Franz Timmermans, the vice president of the European Commission, issued a statement saying, "Let the healing begin." Joseph Borrell, the EU's foreign policy chief, also issued a similar statement saying that the EU-US relationship needs to be repaired. And former EU Council President Donald Tusk actually said this defeat will be the beginning of the end of the triumph of far-right populism in Europe. So we're seeing some diplomatic responses from leaders, but almost every leader in Europe has recognized Joe Biden as the next president of the United States.
Dave, you mentioned the B word there, Brexit. What impact is Joe Biden's presidency expected to have on European policies?
Yeah, Brexit will be the biggest short-term impact because those negotiations for a free trade deal are right now in their crunch time. There's been speculation that Boris Johnson was waiting for the U.S. election result because he has kind of hardwired himself to Donald Trump. There's an impression that he believed that Donald Trump would be able to get him a very quick U.S.-UK free trade deal that would shield the UK from the worst impacts of a chaotic no-deal Brexit scenario in 2021, and that Joe Biden is a lot less friendly to Brexit and the UK, and is very angry, not only, but also because of his Irish roots, about the UK's intention to violate the withdrawal treaty and establish a hard border on the island of Ireland. So there is speculation now that next week Boris Johnson is going to make some major concessions to the EU in order to avoid no-deal Brexit. We'll see. The other big talk you're going to hear over the next week is about a revival of US-EU free trade talks, so-called TTIP talks that were abandoned after Donald Trump was elected because Donald Trump was not interested in a free trade deal with the EU. Will those talks restart? I'm skeptical. I think that the mood against TTIP, both in Europe and the U.S., will continue regardless of who is the president, but we'll see what happens with that. And of course, the third big area is climate change. The U.S. left the Paris Agreement officially the day after the U.S. election on Wednesday. Joe Biden has said he will immediately bring the U.S. back in, but the EU is going to be looking for a lot more than that from Joe Biden. They need him to rebuild the U.S.'s climate change fighting apparatus that was put in place by Barack Obama, and they need the U.S. to make firm commitments. They're excited that Joe Biden has said that he would commit the U.S. to phasing out carbon emissions to net zero by 2050. That's the same target that the EU has made. So they're going to be looking for some firm commitments from them. And then, of course, there's the military question. Donald Trump has disparaged NATO. There's been real worries about that. The NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg came out with a statement saying that he knows Joe Biden is a true friend of NATO and that he believes in the transatlantic alliance. So really, the big element here is Europe is looking for a period of healing to repair all of the damage that was done to these relationships by Donald Trump over the past 4 years. They know Joe Biden. He was vice president. He made a lot of trips to Europe. A lot of them are posting pictures of themselves with Joe Biden in the past. So they are pretty hopeful about this, but they're also wary about the close result in the U.S. and the continued political instability there. So there is a lot of hope here, a lot of optimism, but also a lot of fear about what's coming next over the next 2 months, given that Donald Trump appears not ready to concede the election.
All right, hope and fear from leaders in Europe. Dave Keating, thank you very much for that update. Dave Keating reporting for us there from Brussels. For more on U.S.